this morning that is a culmination of many, many years of study. So I'd like to call up, please, Reverend Lana. Where are you? There you are. You have multi-jobs today. Why don't you come on up here? Come on up here, please. And I also will call up Reverend Pat and the wonderful, soon-to-be, Reverend Ken. Would you please come up as well? And we're going to give them first a rowdy. So I introduce you to your new team. Let's all hold hands. This is your new team. There used to just be one of me, but I multiplied myself, and now there are 4 of us. Manifestation. So we are growing, and it is such an honor to stand on this stage with these blessed beings. I cannot even describe to you what it takes to go and study all the way to Kelowna many, many times. Many, many times. We lost count. So many times. And all the way to LA and back, and it's just unimaginable commitment that these beings have made, that these dear ones have made. And so today, it is my great honor to welcome them. And I have a presentation for each, flowers on behalf of all of us. Now, you didn't know that you bought these, did you? Thank you. They knew. So of study to bring them to this place. This beautiful place.
Wow, look at that.
It's like being in LA on All right, so let's give them a rowdy congratulations.
Got a selfie in there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yes.
We'll have to do this again.
All right, and I will say, with the addition of these dear ones to our beloved community, we will kick it into gear in ways you knew not of. Can't wait. So I begin with a quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes as we kick this into gear and as we bring this month to a completion with a nice celebration. I have a very special kind of firework at the end of my sermon. So are you all ready for fireworks? Who's ready for fireworks? To help celebrate that, I brought for every one of you your very own sparkler. Who has a childlike heart? So, and we're going to light a couple of them today. Yep. So, Dr. Ernest Holmes said this, and I quote, he said, "All the power and all the intelligence of the universe is already within us." Am I too loud? Okay. I thought maybe I get a little passionate. Waiting for, so this power, this presence, this love, is what we are made out of, and we are here to open a way for this to come out of us. It's already here. We don't have to earn it. We don't have to try really hard. We were born with this essence. It is who we are. So Holmes said that all the power and intelligence of the universe is already within us, waiting to be utilized. The divine spark must be fanned into a blaze of the living fire of our own divinity. I love these words of Dr. Holmes. And so each week this month, having 5 Sundays in June, I have shared with you an acronym with the word SPARK. And so we began the first, who remembers week 1, where we explored the importance of the S word. Who remembers that?
Simple.
Simple, to keep it simple, sweetheart. We want to keep our spirituality simple. Next, we looked at how we can fan the flame. This was the P. Fan the flame by participating. We need to participate in our lives. Who likes to sit at home and zone out and watch the TV? James, he likes to zone out. Good job, James. So we want to participate in 4 ways, and who remembers those 4 ways? Anyone? We want to play, the importance of play, right? We want to pray. We want to pay, and that's paying attention. And of course, we want to stay. We want to stay and be committed to our spiritual journey. Next, the 3rd Sunday we talked about, but more importantly, we experienced the awesome nature of God. That was our A. And then last week, we explored the idea that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. And then we fanned that divine flame by experiencing the jewel that is our divinity. Anyone remember that? We were able, you were here. Okay. Well, we had this awesome time polishing the beautiful essence of our Venus planet. So today we have the final ingredient of the spark, the divine flame within us, and that is our K, and that is to kick it into gear. And there is a key element. It's just one word, a key element that I call one of the great secrets of the universe that will help us powerfully kick it into gear. Does anyone want to guess what that might be?
Faith.
Good guess. That's important. What would kick your life into a higher presence? Meditation, that's good too. Celebration, that's good too, but that's not it. That's not what we're talking about today. So there's a key ingredient that really offers us this powerful way to kick it into gear and to illustrate this power and potential of this ingredient. So while I'm sharing this, see if you can guess what it might be. And because it is almost Canada Day, now I wore this just because it's Canada Day, red and white. I love that. So who's celebrating Canada Day? So I have a question for you. This is a trick question, not really. So how old are we? Who knows how old we are?
66.
Oh, some of you know. We are looking pretty good for 147, I'm telling you. We as a nation are 147 years young. That's pretty amazing. And this happened, you all know this, but I just wanted to just mention it again. And this is something happened during this time when Canada was formed. That is that secret ingredient. See if you can guess. So this holiday, the national holiday, is a federal statutory holiday celebrating the anniversary, of course, July 1st. Who remembers the year? Anyone remember the year? 1867. You all know your history pretty darn well. You should get an A. All right. And it was the enactment of the British North America Act in 1867, today called the Constitution Act, which then united 3 colonies. You probably all know that. So 3 colonies were joined together and became Canada. And there are Canadians who celebrate this all over the world. It's an honor and a privilege and a delight. In fact, I have to tell you this, what I know for sure. I had a sister that lived in France for a while, and she said, if you come visit me, don't tell them you're American. Tell them you're Canadian, which you are. Because I lived in America for a number of years. Because Canadians are welcomed and loved all over the world. Isn't that amazing? So give yourselves a rowdy appreciation. So the secret ingredient is that there was something that happened, and it was called
Unity, confederation.
Cooperation.
it's simpler than that. It was called a decision. A decision. And before we launch into kicking it into gear, I want to share with you the actual definition. It'll surprise you. What is the definition of a decision? First of all, the word comes from a Latin root word, de. I was thinking of Dehan. De meaning from. So a decision, de means from. The second part is cadre, C R-E, which means to cut. Now, therefore, a decision means cutting away any other possibility. So can you hear the strength of that? When you make a decision, there is no turning back. You make a decision and you follow that decision. So a true decision then means that you are committed to achieving a result and then cutting yourself off from any other possibility. There's no possibility other than that decision. So some of us, myself, speaking about me, sometimes have a little bit of difficulty making a decision. Anyone ever do that? Actually, not all the time, but sometimes. We fail to realize what it means to make a real decision. And we absolutely do not realize the power and the force. And so that's why I share with you. You may have heard this before, but you may not have known who it's from. So listen to these words. It's so powerful. This is from W.H. Murray in his book, The Scottish Himalayan Expedition. Okay, this is what he said. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely decides, you make a decision and you commit oneself, then providence moves to a whole stream of unforeseen incidences and meetings and material assistance and spiritual assistance which no man could have dreamt would come his way. And that's the quote. And I love the couplet that goes at it. He said, whatever you can do or dream, you can do it. Begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So let's put this in the context of our spiritual lives. What are we truly committed to spiritually? So think about that for a moment. What are you truly committed to spiritually? Are we committed to breaking through beliefs and perceptions that keep us playing small in the world? Anyone like to play small? Are we committed to releasing anger and judgment and guilt and shame? We don't need those things. Are we committed to evolving our own consciousness? Are we committed to supporting the evolution of the consciousness of all humanity? I'm not just here for me. I'm here to be a living essence of pure divinity and doing everything I can to offer, to give, to expand, to grow, to evolve. And I love this. So if you want to know what you believe, look at your life. If you want to know what you believe, look at your life. It is interesting to consider that our committed decisions, when we make a decision, and how it shows up in two very specific ways, gives us some divine feedback. One is our calendar. So look at your calendar and see how busy you are and the things that you plan. That gives you an idea of what you're committed to. The other one, my dears, is your checkbook. What you spend money on. So think of those two things. Those give you that awareness of what you're committed to, your life. And so if something is not working, the greatest part, I think, of our teaching is that we are taught we can change our mind. We can make we can go through a different door. We can create a different reality. Now, I know that we often sometimes worry about if we're making the right decision. Anyone ever worry? Say, gee, I wonder if this is like, should I do this? I'm going to really worry about it a little bit. And so that made me think of Star Wars. Who remembers Star Wars? It was a while back. Star Wars. And it was the trilogy of Star Wars. And this is what I share. Do you remember that Luke Skywalker, he was training to work with the Force. He was training to work with the Force. Who remembers the Force? May the Force be with you, right? May the Force be with you, right? Okay. So he's learning to work with his Force, and he's been told by Yoda that the brilliance is within him. The brilliance of this Force is within him. And so he's asking, he said, what shall I do? He said, go with the force, Luke, go with the force. And Luke finally turns to Yoda and says, but how do I know? How do I know if I'm making the right decision? And this was Yoda's answer. I love Yoda, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
So this is what Yoda said. Yoda says to him, you will know you are making the right decision by peace and calm. By peace and calm. And I will add unto that some words of Neil Donald Walsh in all of his books, Conversations with God. He said, you will know you are making the right decision if it brings you joy. Does this decision uplift me and bring me joy? And so any decision you make to deepen your spirituality, to live from a higher way of living, any decision you make that ignites that spark of divine, that kicks that into gear, will bring you peace and calm and a sense of inner joy, a centeredness, a spaciousness. And this doesn't mean you will always be 100% comfortable with your decision. Anyone ever make a decision that kind of was a little bit scary, or you had to take a lot of breaths about that to make that decision? Very important. But every step you take. Now I have a secret, another secret to tell you, and that is this. I love this. And this is taught in almost every spiritual teaching on the planet. And that is this. There is no wrong decision. Because if you make a decision that doesn't work for you or causes you harm, at that moment, you know ever more clearly where you do want to be. It gives you contrast, which is a blessing. People, what I found is people who have been through the most difficulties, through the most loss, through the most challenges, whether it's addiction, whether it's someone passing away in your family that you were close to, or there are people, you've probably seen this, the floods, their house is gone. They come back, or the tornadoes. Right now I'm so amazed at all the weather across all North America, all these floods. Those people, I guarantee you, are more tuned in to being alive, to being awake. They say, you'll hear them say, I am so grateful that I'm still here. A tornado swept through our house and my family's okay. And so they are more deeply committed to their spiritual journey than the rest of us who still have our house, because they've gone through, so disasters, as awful as they are, setbacks, no such thing. Every single thing that happens to us provides the impetus for us for a greater awareness. When we overcome an addiction, that is the most amazing thing. We're getting in touch with our higher power. More committed. If you are committed to that, oh my goodness, what an accomplishment. What an awareness. It's unstoppable. So a decision is an unstoppable good that you commit to, and you cut away anything that stands in the way of achieving that, whatever it is. You are there on a daily basis. You make that decision and that commitment. And I love the words from the reading today. Dr. Holmes said, our divine nature never deserts us, never. Like the prodigal son, we may wander into a far country. We may take a time out and wander far away from who we know we are to be, or who we know we are. But when we have the realization of who we are, we return like the prodigal son. The Spirit ever reminds us of its presence. If we permit it, the spiritual self will direct our every decision. That's called guidance. I love guidance, and we all have that. We all have an inner system. I call it our gutometer. Everyone have a gut? Our gutometer tells us, our guidance tells us, our inner divinity, it's a new word, our inner divinity tells us. And so we cannot ever get it wrong. And so I wonder this morning, if there was one committed decision that you could make, if there was one committed decision that you could make that would absolutely set fire to that spark of divinity in you, what would that be? What would be that decision? That decision, absolutely, where everything else is cut away and you make that decision. What would that be? What could that be for you? What might that decision be? And the greater question is, are you willing to make that decision today? Are you willing to commit to your highest possibility? And so what we're going to do now, I love this. We're going to have a new kind of Pledge of Allegiance. And I'm going to have you join me, just like you were. I don't know if you did that here, because I was schooled in the United States, but we always put our hands on our heart. You didn't do that here?
We did for a while, then they had to stop.
Really?
Yeah, back in the
Okay.
day, yeah, we did.
But I'm going to have you do that. So I want everyone to stand. Ken is going to hand you the new Pledge of Allegiance. Here it comes. And as he's doing that, I will share with you, we're going to do two of them actually. One, we're going to make a pledge of our allegiance, of our heart to our spiritual journey. And then the paper he's handing out is actually from this idea from Dr. Michael Beckwith, who has one of our largest centers. And this is his idea, but I wrote it, and they are the 7 words most often put in